Yes, now, and welcome back to episode 76 of the Top Loader podcast. And I've been joined by a very special guest to the channel. Some of you may have heard of him before, but Harry, how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, good. I can't really have much to say about that, unfortunately. Been a bit MIA recently, haven't I, to be honest? But glad to be back, and I'm here to stay now, which is good. So I'll be gradually getting myself back into a co-host as opposed to a special guest.
Yeah, we'll take it one step at a time. We'll see how we go for the moment. But no, obviously, people might be wondering where you was, especially the people did come up to me at the London Car Show. So just to clear the record book for you and to make sure that you could claim that you was there and you was hiding, but I don't think everyone's going to fall for that one anymore. So whereabouts was you, my friend?
Yeah, I was actually in Zante in Greece for the duration of the card show. I was there from Wednesday to Monday. So yeah, unfortunately had to miss the card show. I know I said on the previous podcast, obviously I was going to be there. That was because it was a massive surprise for my missus. So she had no idea that I was coming out there. So and I knew by chance she'd up listening to the podcast. And if I said I wasn't going, the surprise was ruined. And turns out she did listen to the podcast. So she would have found out that I wasn't going. So I had to unfortunately play along as if I was going. But yeah, I was actually signing myself up in Zante. So unfortunately, I was gutted to miss out. I was gutted. It looked like a really, really good show. But yeah, can't complain with a holiday in Greece.
Yeah, I was going to say, because even though the Slab Mags did sell very, very well, they was down their number one client. And obviously, before we get into our other talking points, that you did actually manage to still pick up a card at the London Card Show, even though you was all them miles away.
Yeah, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know, isn't it? Yeah, I saw Foot was Dan put a little story set up prior to the show on the Friday, I think it was, and obviously as Ronnie's holding it up now, I did pick up another Gunther Steiner edition, which is the Red Wave Refractor from 2021 Chrome to 5 in a PSA 9. So yeah, I gracefully messaged Dan and said, listen, Ronnie's at the card show, just give it to him for me. He does have one of two Gunthers that I still need to pick up from him. So I think he signed his own little Gunther Steiner PC really in the middle of me picking him up. So yeah, I was just said I need it's the wrong to 5. I need the 5 from Flagship from 2021, not Chrome, but I'll have that to fill in for the time being.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely pickup. And like we say, as we do tongue in cheek, but are you going to be picking up a red slab mag for it? Because I know what your collection's like, and when you get a nice card which has a colour match slab mag, that it ends up in one.
I have got a red one spare. I have it's in an on sticker at the moment, so I'll probably just take that one out and put that Gunther Steiner straight in. So, or I may end up buying another one. I'm not too sure, but I think in the interim, until I pick it up, I'll just put it in the spare one I've got. But we have to arrange a date for me to come and see you for a pint and pick those two cards up.
Yeah, that's what he thinks. I'm just collecting Gunther Steiner. So if anyone wants to sell Harry any of his cards, just make sure you send them to me. I'm the intermediary, so I just keep all the cards and keep them on display.
The middleman.
Yeah, so I'm the middleman, but I now have a lovely Gunther Steiner collection, so it's all worth it in the long run. But obviously, turning our attention to hobby news and everything like that, it's obviously another big week for the hobby with the release of the Merlin Chrome set once again. Before Stadium Club comes out, it's a couple of weeks actually busy for Tops, but the infamous Game Blaster releases, and I know a certain man himself in this call has already looked at his local game and is trying to plan which one to go to. So how do you think it's going to go down this time? Obviously, it's going to be popular. Obviously, the hype of the first one's going to be unrivaled. It won't be ever the same, exactly the same. I don't think people queuing out the doors and getting everyone in their Supreme merch queuing, but it's good to see that they're sticking with the retail releases for Merlin Chrome, which is one of the best sets of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we saw from previous releases, with Merlin, and then there was that other Superstars, wasn't it?
Superstars and UCC, yeah.
Yeah, obviously were released within game stores. So, like I said, I think I've said it a million times before, but it's so nice to have that accessibility there in your local stores. I know we saw it about Score in Smiths, but to have Merlin particularly, arguably obviously a bigger set than Score, to have that accessible in your local game stores obviously is a massive win, and for them to still have that exclusivity within game for the new release as well is really good to see. So as you said, I have looked up my shift at work, and can I get into game before I start? So I mean, yeah, I think it may not be as popular, I'm interested to see how quickly the stores will sell out, how much they get in this time, as to whether it's be 1, 2 per person, and how quickly they will sell out. Because I know for the first release of Merlin, it was literally within a couple of hours that all the, if not within the hour, that obviously most of the Merlin boxes went. Hopefully, obviously, Top sort of listens and shipped in a few more boxes than normal into the game stores after they saw how quickly it sold out last time. But I think it's always good to see these sets so accessible compared to the normal. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how popular they're going to be. Obviously, Merlin, as you said, is one of the popular releases, and where it's so accessible in the UK now in game, is it even more popular with a lot of rips being had on whatnot. And obviously a lot of personal rips being ripped outside of your local game stores. So yeah, I'm interested to see. Obviously, as of release of this podcast, it'll be tomorrow. Obviously, the Merlin's being released. So yeah, it's interesting to see. I said, if you can't complain with these products being so easy to get hold of now in the UK, especially in your local game store. So I'm interested to see whether Tops do that with anything else. I said, obviously, we know we've had 2 other sets that were released in game, obviously Merlin being a big one. So I'm interested to see whether they can release anything else gradually, obviously into game stores.
Yeah, and obviously, I think the configuration we're led to believe to be very similar. It's been confirmed, obviously, the 3 Aqua Prism are per blaster, 4 cards per pack, and then 8 packs per blaster. We're guessing it's going to be along the lines of 1 numbered per blaster again, which is always quite fun to rip. Obviously, the actual main hobby box is slightly different. It's 4 cards per pack, obviously the same as the blaster pack. They're 18 packs per box, 12 boxes per case, but then you're guaranteed the autograph card. It's a very good looking set yet again. Obviously, the print run has been jacked up quite a bit, which is going to be expected. So now the highest parallel is to 350, which is a neon green shimmer. So, like anything, the more popular it gets, the more cards they're going to put in the set. So, whereas before you had a better chance of making some bit of your money back with the 1 numbered or the Aqua Prisms. Obviously, if you do hit a nice Garnacho or one of the rookies, you're going to do quite well. But if you hit no disrespect to an Alaba, for example, out of 350, probably going to get 2-3 quid back. So it's a bit more of it's a lower floor now. Obviously, the ceiling's still quite high with it because there's still some lovely cards in there. You've got the football autos, which I believe are only going to be hobby exclusives. But then, again, you've got like some Messi, Haaland, Bellingham autos. So it's a good chase to have. And it's still one of the better looking sets. I think unanimously the red wave design, that what is to 5, is one of the nicer looking cards in the set. So actually, in terms of the actual product, it is a very good looking card. And the nice parallels of the top players always sell very well, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I think the red wave refractors, obviously off the top of your hand, obviously with your Gabrielle you've got. But I think you said that the actual product designs themselves. And obviously, I have got a certain product that is going to be released soon on the top of the pedestal for the card designs, which I'm sure we will get into shortly. But yeah, the actual designs of the Merlin is really, really nice. I think the higher print one on some of the cards does knock it down a little bit. I think for me to have a numbered card to 350 is it's a bit far-fetched. You don't really class that as a short print in any way, shape, or form. I don't personally anyway. People may disagree. But I think to 350, I like the exclusivity with the blasters, though, the green Aqua, the Aqua Prisms. I said 1 number per blaster as well. So, but the actual set, as I said, the actual design of Merlin, the card designs and stuff are really nice. There's no doubt it will be another popular release. But yeah, I think the only letdown for me is just the higher print runs or the high numbered cards. If you get 1 numbered card per blast and it's to 350, you're kicking yourself a little bit. But no, yeah, I think it'll be a popular release. I said Merlin's always a successful release. The card designs are really nice. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, obviously, what pictures they put out so far, obviously, we're still awaiting the checklist. But like I say, it's a lovely design, and there's a few big rookies to chase. Obviously, everyone coming out of Chrome was chasing Alejandro Garnacho, but one of the big chases, in my personal opinion, in this set is going to be for Fenerbahce, and that's Erda Güler. Is obviously now the young Turk who's now signed for Real Madrid, which is his first card that has been in a top Panini product. He had a Turkish release card which had autos, but there's going to be a massive chase on that one for such a wonder kid who's had not much stuff. That's probably going to be one of the main ones to chase, just because he hasn't been in UCC before. So it's nice to see that they are changing it up. Some of the parallels and stuff like that's good. There's going to be variation rookies. So obviously we don't know what these short print ones are going to be so far until the checklist comes out, but we're led to believe that they're all numbered to 75 and less. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting release, Merlin Crow. it's going to be one of them that normally does quite well on the breaks and, like you say, blast the breaks as well. No doubt, wherever you get your breaks or products, you'll see a lot of it getting broken. So yeah, it's going to be a fun one to see. Obviously, shame the checklist is not out yet. Obviously, by the episode next week, we'll know a lot more about the product. We were seeing it firsthand and also seeing the checklist. But obviously, there's quite a lot of stuff going on as well in the card world, and I think literally anyone was not surprised, obviously, with Fanatics controlling and taking over the market, that Panini have finally filed their lawsuit against them for obviously trying to take over the whole card world and market. And there was so people don't understand like a lot of the laws. This is common practice of any company that overtakes anything. Happened a lot when Amazon bought Whole Foods quite a few years ago, trying to take over all the supermarket industry, and they own like 40% of it. So the other ones countered the lawsuit to try and get it stopped. Obviously, very rarely worked, but very interesting point, and I think this is one to talk about, that in different reasonings for why Panini was suing Fanatics, basically trying to say was access to game worn memorabilia, which I found quite intriguing, because the main criticism for Panini from a lot of people over the last couple of years since COVID really has been, oh, we don't want these non-associated patches, which you've literally just bought off a website and then put in cards. So to know that there might be other reasonings, obviously, it's still not sticking up for Panini. So I feel like they've done a lot wrong and they've lost quite a lot of the community, sadly, within the last 24 months. But it's going to be an interesting one, H, that in the next 24, no, not even 24 months, in the next 6 to 12 months, obviously, this is going to keep on going. Fanatics trying to buy all the licensing up. In my personal opinion, I can only see it ever going one way, and that's really Fanatics buying out Panini at some point, or at least making an offer to buy them out. But it's one of them now that it's going to be intriguing, because obviously the hobby's heavily reliant on Panini and Fanatics. Now, Fanatics obviously owning top rights and getting every right under the sun. That if it does come to a case of Panini ended up selling or however it worked, it could be quite influential for the hobby, that it could be one company rules all, and they've already got their Fanatics lives going live with breakers on that. So it could be a very controlled market soon in the card world.
Yeah, I think Fanatics have already got their foot firmly in the door in terms of all the licensing and stuff. You know, you touched on it in terms of all of the licensed patches. You know, we pretty much slandered Panini for all of the patches being non-associated and how much it reflects the price. That, you know, these patches aren't game one, aren't match one, aren't player one, are just literally a patch from anything, anywhere that's not associated. So I think it's interesting to hear that, you know, Fanatics have been buying out all the license memorabilia, which is why Panini is all non-associated. But it brings it back to my original point, then obviously, where Fanatics already have their foot firm in the door because they've got the access to everything. They're their first resort for everything you could think of hobby related. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, as you said, obviously Topps and Fanatics are already together, and then, you know, whether Fanatics will try and buy Panini out, and then it's, as I said, ruled by one company, and how will that affect releases? How will that affect the hobby? How will that affect the diversity within the hobby? With it just being one company that release everything. So I think, yeah, I'm interested to see how it plays out. It's not going to be an overnight result. I think it's going to take a couple of months for it to all sort of fizzle out. So, but yeah, I think I'll be surprised if Fanatics don't come out in some way or another on top, because I said they've got everything going for them. They've got all the licensing and stuff that they need. So perhaps just a waiting game to see what happens. But I think Fanatics will inevitably come out on top and will have the upper hand in some way or another. But it'd be interesting how the actual dimension then works within the hobby, and how it will affect the hobby just being run by one company effectively. You know, at the moment you've got the likes of Topps and Panini. You throw Fanatics in there, and then it all becomes one. It's just interesting to see how that'll play out. But as I said, yeah, Fanatics firmly have their foot in that door, well ready for their time.
Yeah, I think it's like we say, Mark Rubin, the guy who heads up Fanatics, is a big card collector. So there's a lot of optimism for people who are a lot more in the know than us and know people closer to Fanatics. They're saying it's exciting things are planned. Obviously, their licensing does start in about, I think it's about 18 months now to 2 years. Obviously, they've already locked up like the big American ones, NBA, NFL. So it's going to be very intriguing to see. It's one of them that obviously we're all used to since kids having Panini and Topps. But then I was like making the comment of, I remember when Merlin was Merlin, but obviously before Topps bought the Merlin rights, it was Merlin's a standalone company, done all the sticker books. So it's going to be intriguing to see. Obviously, we just want the best for the hobby. And I'm really hoping with Fanatics like international distribution that they can really bring the hobby to Europe a lot more easier and conveniently, especially if they are going to be selling boxes themselves through their own website. It will give us much easier access to product, which we find hard, especially Panini wise. A lot of it is obviously in the States and goes through distributions, especially tops. That I think that's one of the main things that annoys a lot of people. But obviously, Fanatics will still do it. But how we struggle to get one hobby box between us, and then certain breakers get 12, 15 cases. It's just something needs to be changed there. It's not all about the breakers. Don't get me wrong, breaking is a massive part of the hobby, but it's also about the people who want to collect as well. So, like I say, it's going to be one of them that we'll follow it closely. And when there's any other further developments, we'll definitely bring it to you on here, because there's no doubt going to be one of them that rages on for time upon time upon time. And then, however, it'll get settled either behind closed doors, and then there'll be an announcement, or obviously dragged through the courts. Then it could be quite interesting to hear all the first-hand perspectives. But also moving on to lighter situations, obviously there's quite a few more releases coming up, and I've got to say, I would always talk about football, but are they ever going to bring out another F1 set, H?
I hope so. I need some more Gunfersteiner in my life. Yeah, it's weird. It's been very quiet on the F1 front. Obviously, season started now, so I know I've got a couple of weeks off now with in between races, but yeah, it's interesting. There's literally nothing apart from obviously the Chrome from last year. But there's nothing really that's been in the pipeline or that we can see is going to be released in the very near future, which is interesting. I don't know what times Chrome come out, or what time the flagship come out, or what time Lights Out normally comes out. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's not really anything in the. I know it's got a lot of like women's stuff, and you still see football is football, but yeah, F1's a bit quiet at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the 2022 Chrome come out like early January, so obviously we're quite a long way off that. Sapphire, I think, was the end of January. Obviously, Dynasty come out, but that's very much a closed door network in terms of not everyone's going to be able to buy into that one anyway. So yeah, it's going to be quite it's just nice to see when they do release more F1 stuff. Obviously, the new season started now. I think when I was reading into it yesterday, I believe Lights Out is like the end of November. So even though that seems a very long way away, it's actually not, it's actually by the time you know it, it'll be coming right round. So yeah, it's just looking at more for that. There've been a lot more releases going on, obviously, especially now the American seasons as well. NBA's in their they're starting their preseason. Same for NFL, they started their first summer games this week. So we're going to get a lot more American releases, and I feel even people who are just in the hobby but don't really care about the NBA, when Wembanyama going into the league, I think it's going to be crazy for the hobby. You're going to be seeing when the first prisms come out, first hoops, his prices are going to go mental. The person I know, well, we know Ken Golden will be holding the Prism 1 of 1 auto whenever it does come out. If he signs with Panini, because obviously he's got a top / Fanatics deal, so even his 1 of 1 base is going to be quite an intriguing one. But especially like a question for you, obviously you're more of a you know about the NBA and NFL, but not truly like invested into it. Are you going to keep an eye out on some of these like NBA releases when Wembanyama gets in? Because it could do wonders for the hobby. It could be like the Ja Morant, Zion Williamson draft class when it was COVID, when it just blew up cards in general.
Yeah, I think it's always good to have an eye on certain prospects within the hobby, regardless of whether that's football, NBA, NFL, or anything. Also, we know how much of a massive prospect Wembanyama is. So I think to see his first few cards in his new set, and obviously, like I said, his 1 of 1s are going to be ridiculous, and it's really interesting to see how that's going to affect the hobby, particularly for the NBA. I just say, there's no doubt that Ken Golden will be holding a 1 of 1 at some point of Wembanyama. So, yeah, obviously I'll keep an eye out for it. I think it'd be interesting to see even the low numbered cards, see what they're going for, because I think it's going to be ridiculous. His auto specifically. But I said, I don't know anything particularly really about NBA. I know there are a lot of big names in NBA, NFL, etc., but he really isn't my forte. So, but I said I would definitely keep an eye out. I think it'd be interesting to see, just as well from a hobby perspective, how it plays out, what the price is going to be going for, and there's no doubt we'll see a lot of Instagram posts when a 1 of 1 is pulled, when an auto is pulled, when a low number is pulled, and it'd be interesting to keep an eye out what they're selling for. So. Let's say it's a massive prospect, and it's going to be interesting to see how that does then play out within the hobby as well.
Yeah, like I say, it's going to be quite a few exciting months to come for the hobby, not just sports, but obviously for us women collectors, it's going to be fantastic. So we've got Don Ross launching, and we've got Women's Chrome, which looks fantastic, and the chase for that's going to be unbelievable. The Bataliska 1 of 1. It's going to be one of the biggest chases. It's going to be, in my personal opinion, the biggest chase in the history of women's soccer cards. Just for the sole fact of you got the two highest selling players on the same card, autoed, and you can get a super fractor. So it's like ticking every single box someone would want. So that's going to be a fun chase, just getting all them cards. Obviously, as of recording this, tomorrow is the women's semi-final between England and Australia. Today would have been Spain, Sweden. So as you're listening to this, you will know the outcomes of the games. But like I say, it's nice as well. Having England have a nice long run in the tournament, it's recapturing a lot of people from the Euros last year that might have not watched women's football in between, but actually realize, look, we're in a semi-final now, hopefully a final, but who knows, because Australia are a very strong side. Do I dare say, sadly, was my outsider for the tournament when I'd done the women's special podcast. Even though if I thought they would play England in the semi-finals, I probably wouldn't have said that, just out of fact that I'm now going to kick myself if Australia managed to pull off an upset against England. But just hoping now we see it at the London Card Show with like She Scores Cards having her table. Jog Collect, another one, had quite a few women's cards there. Hopefully, with these releases coming up, I don't know how you'd feel about this, but hopefully we can just get some more people into collecting women's cards. And now the women's players are coming household names. They might just pick up cards if they see it. Whereas before they would have gone, no, I'm not actually that bothered at all. Like, oh, nice, they won the Euros, but I don't really know any of these players.
Yeah, I think women's football has always been, as in cards, sorry, has always been sort of very niche. There's not a lot out there. When it comes up, it goes very quickly, and it's not the biggest market. But when you see these cards at London, they go like that. I know I watched an interview with, I think, Soccer Card United, obviously fellow podcasters, with Futera, I think it was. So they were talking about women's football and how desirable it is. And I think, I know you said George Clex obviously had a lot of women's soccer at his table. So I think, yeah, it's interesting to see. Hopefully we saw it from the women's women's Euro, so when we won that, how popular women's football became as a result of that. We already made it into semis of the World Cup. So hopefully you can see it progress forwards. But as I said, obviously it's already very desirable within the hobby, and with obviously more sets released, Chrome and Donruss coming out as well. Hopefully we'll see some more women's cards being more accessible and a bit more, not the market being flooded, but just having a bit more on the market. At the moment you've predominantly only got Chrome, especially Chrome. There's some big cards in there. Obviously now introducing the dual autos. I know you pretty much got your eye on that Miedemar dual auto with
In the Black Stenius.
Blackstenius, that's it. So yeah, he said obviously hopefully we'll see a lot more cards there and a lot more at the card shows. So but as I say, it's very desirable, and any first year Chrome you see goes like anything. It's very similar to probably to like your F1 Chrome first year. The price of that will always be at the top. Your Beth Mead autos, your Miedemar autos for us particularly, are always going to hold a lot of value, particularly being first year women's Chrome. So hopefully we see this women's Chrome coming up. There's going to be a big release as well. But I said it's very desirable, and there's not a lot of it out there. So when it does come up on the market, it does go very quickly. So hopefully we can see that collector group expand as the new releases come out.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's like we say, it's going to be a very exciting release. People are already talking about it, and quite nice, quite refreshing. Quite a lot of conversations about women's cards at London, which in the past would have been near enough impossible to have the conversation. So, like I say, it's going to be very intriguing the next 2 to 3 weeks, obviously, when that releases, and then obviously going on future on releases, what it does to the first 2021, 2022 Chrome prices, whether their cards then go up, because it had that effect with the 2021 Chrome for F1, when then everyone realized, hold on, 2020 is the first one, there won't be another one like it. So then they rebounded. But obviously now we're starting the Premier League season, so we're in the middle of August now. We've had quite a bit of the year gone so far, obviously 8.5 months in, 3.5 months left of the year. So how would you think so far the hobby's been this year? Because we was talking at the beginning of the year, like what we was hoping to see in the hobby, prices, but personally speaking, I think it's going quite well this year for the hobby. There's been seems like a lot more people getting involved. It definitely has rebounded quite a lot, the market, I'd say. Obviously, it's never going to go, but who knows what it could do in years to come. But obviously, everyone compares it to COVID times, but that was the exception because everyone had money to spend, whereas now people don't have the money to spend. But seems to be going in a good direction, the hobby, not just soccer, but in general, it seems like it's getting that bit of a feel good factor around it again, and the community's really growing around it as well.
Yeah, I think we went through probably a bit of a dry month or two, obviously prior to this within the hobby with football being the off season. I think obviously we had London last weekend. The season's now obviously started as we're recording this weekend. You've got Liverpool, Chelsea on at 4:30 this afternoon.
The Battle of Saicedo.
The Battle of Caicedo, yeah. So obviously, we've had a probably a bit of a quieter 2 months prior to this. So, but I think, yeah, definitely with London last weekend and obviously football season starting again, you are getting that sort of that feel good factor about the hobby again, and a lot more stuff is happening, a lot more buying and selling. Obviously, Whatnot is still flying off the rails in terms of shows. So yeah, I mean, it's been a good year thus far. Sorry, a lot of good releases. There is still one release coming up that I'm very much looking forward to. Obviously, Stadium Club Chrome. I know I've banged on about it for a while now. Obviously, that is being released, and as I know, there's a lovely Martin Odegaard card in that set that I'm sure me and you both are going to be fighting over for the rainbow. So that's one set that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing released in the very near future, and one I'm definitely going to be probably putting a lot of money into for the first time in a while, into some breaks, maybe trying to pull some Arsenal spots or Odegaard specifically, which I'm sure I'll be fighting with the rest of the world, the rest of the Arsenal collectors for. But yeah, I think it's been a very good year this far. I'm looking forward to seeing what the last couple of months of this year, last couple of months, still got a fair amount of months left, still got 4 months left of this year holds. There's some big releases coming up still. And seeing what else we can add to the PC. But yeah, it's been a good year, good releases. And hopefully we're getting back into that excitement era with football starting again, and the investments and the price of players fluctuating on how they perform. And that sort of excitement back again in the hobby.
Yeah, and also we mentioned PCs there. I've got a feeling I know what you're going to say here, but if you had to pick your favorite pickup of the year so far, I think I know what it's going to be, but I'm just going to ask the question anyway.
That is a rough question. Not rough, but I mean, yeah, I think it's going to have to be probably the Dynasty Gunther that I'm sure Ronnie's about to, yeah. That is probably one of my best pickups of the year. One for price, and obviously two for the fact it's a 2020 Dynasty of Gunther. That's got to be up there. Mate, that's a difficult question. I know obviously that Henri auto from Mosaic that I picked up, I think in February at the show. I know we're looking at way back into February, but that was one of my first Henri auto that I picked up, and that's a big card for me. Not necessarily based on price, just purely because it's an Henri auto, PSA 9 auto 10. That I was very happy to pick up. So that's going to be up there in probably top 3, as is probably the Gunther 1 of 1, as is then the Gunther Dynasty as well. So I reckon they're probably going to have to be my top 3 probably for pickups this year. I'd have to go back through my cards to remember what I actually picked up this year. But off the top of my head, I reckon they've got to be the top 3. What about you?
Yeah, like you say, it's a very tricky one when you start thinking about it, but it could be recency bias in terms of it was the last card I actually picked up, but the Beth Mead Orange Wave Refractor, I think it's just one of my favourite cards in general that I do own. To pick up such a lovely looking card in a Gem Mint 10 of one of the heroes of the Euros, when obviously also plays for our beloved Arsenal, which always helps, but that's just one of them cards that I thought it's always, you see other people owning them and you never think you're really going to have it yourself. So now to be in a position where I'm fortunate enough to own the card, especially now focusing a lot on the women's collection, it's really boosted the women's collection. And now I'm looking around, looking what other ones are. Lucky enough now I've got 4 Orange Wave Chromes out of the Arsenal one, so slowly ticking them off. Obviously, when it comes to Miedemar and Williamson somewhere down the line, they're going to be very expensive. I think the Williamson runs double, if not triple, sometimes the Beth Mead one at good times. So, yeah, I think that's up there. There's been another few nice pickups. Also a few nice Granit Xhakas as well. So, yeah, it's been a good year so far in terms of pickups. Obviously, hopefully some nice ones still to come as well. Obviously, with the different products recently, Stadium Club Chrome for you, I think it's the 28th of August, I believe, off the top of my head, which we haven't seen the checklist yet, but the taster image of the Odegaard is going to get a lot of people collecting that one. Obviously, then for me, coming up in 2 weeks, it's the Women's Chrome, which I'll be chasing, like we said before, the Jewel Auto, the Fierce, Beth Mead, and just in general, any of the cards. And then Don Russ as well, hopefully picking up some players who have not had cards. I'm hoping it's Alicia Russo's first ever card, which would be a fantastic chase for England and Arsenal fans alike. So, yeah, it's been a very good year so far. And obviously, just moving our attention slowly to the 3.5 months remaining of 2023 in the card collecting world. Obviously, now the season start and everything like that. But obviously, we've got card shows coming around. But is there anything, I know we've mentioned some sets, but anything in particular looking to pick up or attempt to maybe hit in a break? What you obviously, I know there's a certain to 5 is going to be mentioned, but is there anything else like you even not even actually picking up, buying or anything like anything you want to do or achieve in the hobby before like the turn of next year?
Yeah, I think obviously, as inevitable is going to happen, so the 5 Gunfersteiner from 2021 flagship is still on my radar to complete the rainbow. That will be probably the biggest bugbear of this year for me, is that I still haven't seen one. Obviously, that is the biggest one. I do want to start collecting some more Ben White. Don't know why. Just I played right back when I played football, and I think Ben White is unbelievable. So I'd like to pick up a bit more of Ben White. I know I've seen a cracked dice to 23 illusions from the new Chronicles on eBay that I was debating, having a look at earlier on today. Cracked dice has gone a bit under the radar with it not being numbered recently in a few sets. So to see it back in Chronicles to 23 is nice. Yeah, I think obviously Gasly, the sit pose, I'm looking at trying to pick up the next piece of the rainbow in that, which is going to be very expensive. It's either the 70th anniversary to 70, or I think it's then to 50 gold, which is obviously, again, not cheap. But yeah, I think realistically, said that to 5 Steiner, some more Ben White. I always get the urge to start collecting like the set. So, for example, like all the snake skins from Prism, or all of the. I know I went in on the hunt for all the camos from Select, but I get a couple and then just don't bother. So I need to try and stick to one of them and try and do it. So yeah, I'm still on the hunt for obviously a 1 of 1 from Arsenal. I've still not had a 1 of 1 from Arsenal yet. So that is probably going to be my next big pickup. I'm hoping try and find one that comes up. If I get an Odegaard from Club Chrome, I mean, I'm laughing. But I think for me, next on the list will be that Odegaard from Club Chrome in terms of trying to pick up a low numbered card from there. Also, I'm interested to see what other card designs there are, obviously from Club Chrome for Arsenal, and see if there's any other nice card designs on there. So I'm waiting to see what the checklist is for that. But yeah, I think realistically for me, just be more active on the podcast really is probably my next big step in stone. Be back on here every week. So but no, other than that, mate, I think that's pretty much my next few goals, obviously going into the end of this year. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think card related, I think might be just getting a few of the women's stuff off to grading. I think the 2021, 2022 stuff that belongs in slabs. Got quite a few nice Infernos or Orange Waves, which are currently sitting in semi-rigid. So then they will need to go off to PSA at some point. I'll probably send off my Beth Meads. I've got Pink Prism, Inferno as well. And I think I might have a deal for a green lined up in the not too distant future. So get them all slabbed up. Obviously now having the Orange Wave as well, and I can get them all in a nice display. But yeah, like I say, it's just, I think, like we say, we're just bringing the best content as well for the podcast. Obviously getting new people on, old people on, everything in between. Obviously have some repeat guests, which we're looking forward to bringing on, who we're in talks with at the moment. And obviously just working on other ideas as well. A few other things in the pipeline with like doing partnerships with other people, doing like a special event, stuff like that, which should be good. But obviously like trying to get to as many shows as physically possible. Obviously now football season for me, and obviously Harry with his work as well. So basically my football season is basically like a job, because people know that near enough every Saturday and Sunday, especially, I was saying to one of my mates the other day, I said, it's even worse when the women's season starts up, right? Because that's 2 days of the weekend and there's only 2 days of them. So, but like we say, no, we're really looking forward to the rest of the year. Obviously, we've been blessed so far this year with the support that everyone's shown us, which we'll continue cracking on with. And like we say, if there's ever any recommendations, people you'd like to see on, or anything in general, any talking points, always feel free to comment below. On the YouTube channel, that's the best one. We're always nearly got through a whole episode. Always talking to people in there, and obviously, like we say, when LGL does return very soon, I will be quizzing him on NFL legendary quarterbacks after the comment of he didn't know who Dan Marino was, which is quite shocking. So I have sent him a NFL
LGL, mate.
Yeah, so I've sent him an NFL documentary to watch on legendary quarterbacks and players in the league, and he will be getting a quiz next time he's on the show. Otherwise, he will be facing some sort of forfeit. So yeah, but like we say, thank you ever so much yet again for Harry to finally showing up yet again, and after we put the feeders out and we found him somewhere in Greece. So thank you, my friend, for actually making a lovely appearance, because it was welcome.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
But like we say, obviously, if you are listening to this prior to the England women's semi-final, obviously tomorrow of release, we wish the Lionesses all the best, and hopefully be cheering them on Sunday as well. Like we say, it's been great so far, the tournament. The whole Women's World Cup's been an absolute breath of fresh air, and to see a lot of people watching it. I was at the Emirates yesterday with our delay, and I can't kid you, everyone was standing there watching women's football, which is something I never thought I'd see in my life. At a men's football game, everyone going to watch the Lionesses. So, like I say, I hope everyone out there is staying safe, doing well, but most importantly, I hope everyone's buying, trading, and all that good jazz. But most importantly, happy hobbying and good night.